I'm getting ready to install the Super ATV power steering kit, Easy Steer. And here's the kit. And basic instructions. A few things here. I'll actually come back to most of this. I'm just really going to start with instructions. It first tells me to take off, you can see this, the lower part of the plastic on the front cowl here. But I'm actually going to start with the steering wheel because I don't have a steering wheel puller. So I need to see if I can get the steering wheel off before I pull anything else off, because if not, I'll have to wait till I get a steering wheel puller. Okay, this is my version of a homemade steering wheel puller. It's got a ratchet strap strapped to the frame, down to the steering wheel, and a rubber mallet. I'm just going to put a little tension on it with a ratchet strap here and give it a couple hits with a mallet and see if it'll come off. Don't worry, if it doesn't work, you'll never know it. I'll omit it from the video. Okay, my ratchet strap and rubber mallet did work to get the steering wheel off. Now I'm just going to jump right into the instructions here. Number 1, remove lower dash. And see a number of screws going across this. Of course, I got the light shining in, so it's not going all the way across. If I find any that were hidden, I'll make sure I mention those later. Okay, I started removing the lower dash. I want to note that it appears that the inside of the glove box is going to come out with it, so there's 4 screws, one on each corner, that you'll see when you pull the glove box open. I took off the top of mine just to protect it a little bit, but doesn't seem to want to come out real easy. It just says take off the lower dash, doesn't really tell you how to do it, so looks like it's slowly going that way. Most of the screws are right across the dash. I'll get that to show up on the actual green plastic, and then the rest are in the cubby holes going all the way across, every 1 and 2 in each cubby hole. Okay, I finally found all the screws to take that lower dash out. Other than the 4 that hold on the inside of the glove box, there's also 1 in the back of the glove box back there. I've already taken it out. A number of them go across the front, and every one of these little compartments all have at least 1 or 2 in it, and then there are 2 way down at the bottom with a tab that's sticking out. So now that I got them out, it's starting to come down. I've just got it pulled down a little bit. I may take the whole thing off. I'm going to see if I can do it without taking it off first, just because there's a number of wires I'll have to undo to get it off. But first I'm going to just see if I have the room to work on it. Next, looking at the picture with the instruction, it looks like it wants me to take the shaft out from down here. Let me get a picture of that. Not the easiest thing to get to, but it's right up in there. So I'm going to see if I can loosen that nut and get that shaft off of there. Okay, I did manage to get that nut loose on the other end of the shaft. It is not easy to get to. Next, I've got to remove this nut here holding this on, and up in here you can see the 2 nuts holding the top part of the steering shaft on. Note that you do have to get 1 wrench on the nut, and then you can't see it, but if you slide your wrench up under here, the plastic, you'll be able to get a wrench on the bolt as well to pull those off of there. Okay, got the shaft out. I mentioned these nuts were in here earlier, and I said to put a wrench up inside this plastic here, up behind it, to get a hold of this. Actually, it's round, but a pair of pliers will slide up in there pretty easy, and then you can get these out. Now that is the easy part. Okay, this is the shaft that came out. I'll kind of show you what you're dealing with. This right here, of course I'm upside down here. there's a nut that goes through here that of course straps it to the other end where I showed you up under here earlier. Problem is, it's pretty far back in there. You don't even know if you can see it on the camera here. There's no room to work. That is not an easy project to get that bolt off. Once you do get it off, it's no more fun trying to get it through the firewall. There's a very little hole there. You're going to have to bend plastic and yank. To actually get it off though, even once that nut was out, the thing felt like it was welded on. I had to get a crowbar up in there and hit it with a hammer. It took quite a while just to pop it off the end. Once you get this one out, it's a little easier to get the new shaft in because it's shorter. Get it in there, but again, you've got to get a wrench on one side and a socket on the other to try to tighten that on with very little room. Fortunately, I've got a very skinny younger brother, and he was able to get it on there. Otherwise, I don't think I'd have ever got it done. Basically, on the instructions, all it tells you is to take one off, put the other one on. It really should say make sure no small children are around for at least 2 hours, because you're going to cuss and throw a few things. But the new piece is in. We've got it strapped on, so I'm going to move on. Okay, next it says to install the control box. Reading the instructions in the picture, and it looks like it is going to go just like this in there to the side. Looks like the wire connections here be facing to the passenger side, but you can actually, it'll go up, you'll set it on top of this frame in there. Let's see if I can show you that. Sorry, I'm so jumpy here. There it is sitting. Of course, under that you're going to have a little bracket and a couple little screws, and there's some pre-existing holes in the bottom of this frame right here. The bottom of this frame, there's some holes there, so you can run the screws up into the control box. So that's what I'm going to try to do next. Okay, I was trying to mount the control box in there like it said. It's kind of seeing there a little bit. Here's the control box, and there's a set of holes in the frame, 2 in the front and 2 in the back, and I kept trying to get this to line up with one set of those holes, realizing it wouldn't, and I wasn't really sure what to do. And I think I finally figured out that you're not supposed to put those through those holes. There's just a metal bar going across there in the frame. You put this on the bottom side of the flat frame, and there's 2 big gaps, and then just mount the controller on top of the frame. And between this controller and this little metal bracket, once it's screwed to it around the frame, will hold it in position. It also says to the far left side as far as you can get it, so once I get it in there, I will move it to this side. You can't see in there too well. You can kind of see those holes right there. Do not try to mount it through those holes. It will not fit. I'm just going to use this bar in between the controller and the little bracket here. Okay, I got that controller mounted in there. It's going to be difficult to see, but I thought I'd try so you can kind of see how that ends up. You can kind of see the, if I can get my finger in there, that you can see that metal bracket that came with it, and the 2 screws hanging out the bottom, and it's just pressed against the bar going across the middle there. There's a top and bottom plate on the steel frame in here, which gives you very little room to work, so that was not fun. But I did get it in there. I'll tell you, nothing's been fun on this so far. Oh, I think on a scale of 1 to 10 thus far, I'd rate this project as somebody please shoot me. But I'm going to continue and see if I can get it done. Okay, got the upper part of the shaft reinserted back into the column here. And got the screws, I can't really see them too good, but there's a couple of, showed them to you earlier, screws that hold that bracket on. Next, it looks like we're going to install a kind of U-shaped bracket that came with a kit, and it looks like it's going to attach with the shock here on one side, then attach the frame up under there somewhere, and I'll get a good view of that later. Okay, next it tells you to install this bracket right here, a little metal bracket. It connects in with the shock here on one side. It comes with a few extra washers you put on there. Wraps around, goes back up. I know you can't see too well in here. Goes up and connects to the frame with another nut and bolt that they provided. Pretty easy installation. Goes on real simple, no problem. Then it tells you to install the motor. The motor will eventually attach to this bracket. It's going to hold up right up here. However, unless I'm missing something, once you have that bracket installed and you put the motor down there and attach it to the lower shaft, you can't maneuver it to get it inside that bracket. So I'm simply going to take this bracket back off, line this part of the shaft into the hole right here on the bracket, then put the bracket back on. You do have a little play on this on the upper shaft. You can work with it up and down to get it on the motor, but I just can't see how this bracket goes on and then the motor, because you're connected down here and up here, and it's just enough room for the motor, so there's no way to tuck the front part of this into that hole with that bracket already installed. Like I say, maybe I'm missing something. I'm trying to follow the instructions, but maybe there's another way to do it. But I'm going to pull the bracket off next and get that motor positioned correctly. Okay, I kind of got everything secured into place where it should be. Start down at the firewall. There's the the new lower shaft, which is shorter than original because it comes up and connects to the motor into this bracket that we mounted all the way up. One thing the instructions should have mentioned is when trying to get these on, it comes with a bolt in there, and I just loosened it originally and was trying to get that to slide over to the other part of the motor. You had to take that bolt completely out. You can kind of see what I did to mine here by not, I don't know, maybe you can see it. Kind of boogered it up, so I'm going to have to go get another bolt before I can tighten this down. Also, this piece right here, it fits right onto the motor, and I kept trying to put it onto the motor and then putting this bracket on top. It doesn't work that way. You put the bracket in between this piece and the motor. Just a little note there. Okay, next I'm going to attach the wires to the controller. Remember, the controller is back behind the steering column here. Two wires coming off the motor here. They're just plug-in connections. And then a separate wiring harness right here, and this will just end up terminating. Well, eventually just tied into the battery, but I'll use the Polaris accessory bar there to tie those into. This being a separate wiring harness, these could have been plugged in before I mounted that controller, which would have probably made this a little easier, because I'm going to have to do that all by feel up under the column. Okay, I've ran into what I actually consider kind of a major problem. Here's my steering wheel that I've taken off, and here's the original shaft that come off of there. Slides on real easy. Plenty of bolt there to grab with a nut. I'm going to show you. Here's my new shaft. Will not slide on. Not near enough to even grab with a nut. I've tried beating it on. I've got grease on it. Nothing seems to work. I got it so tight earlier, I finally did have to go down and get a steering wheel puller, which does not work well with this steering wheel. So I'm kind of stopped. I don't know what I can do from here. I don't think I could handle taking this thing back apart to send it back. It was just way too much labor. To be continued. I'll tell you what I finally figured out. I still have my original Polaris steering wheel, which would fit on the new shaft. However, my aftermarket steering wheel will not. However, of course, my aftermarket steering wheel did fit on the original shaft. Come to find out, it wasn't the teeth that were grabbing. If you can see on the original Polaris how thick it is as opposed to how thick the one is on my aftermarket steering wheel. So what it is the I don't know if you can see this real well. I'll try to turn it sideways. Well, anyway, this thing wedges outward, and it wedges out too quick as opposed to the original shaft. So you can see that there. So this one has it's still more narrow than this new shaft. So I'm guessing the my aftermarket steering wheel was made to fit, you know, to specs for the original shaft. However, the new shaft is not. It is made to fit the original steering wheel, but the slope here is not, I guess, to Polaris specs, so it thickens out too much. So what I've done, and I don't think it was the best of ideas, but I've been using my Dremel and honing out the back side of this, not the teeth on the other side. You can't really see them, but anyway, this back part here is just smooth on the inside. So I've been honing that out, and it does fit now. I got a little bit of the teeth on the bottom, but not much. And now it does fit all the way in, and I can put my nut on there. So they're just a little off on that slope on that shaft. It looks like it will work. Okay, finally got everything put together. It's completely installed, and it feels pretty good. I can spin it with just one hand sitting here on the concrete. A lot better than before. That part is good. The final wiring, pretty simple, just 3 wires will attach right here on the existing bars on the under the hood. Despite my rants doing this project, the product itself seems solid, made well, works well. Hadn't got a good test drive on it yet, just in the yard. But it's just I think any of them that you're going to have to install, if you kit you get that where you're going to have to install this at, is just very tight area, making it very hard to get to. So it's a bit of a frustrating install for me. You might not find it as difficult. I would say the hardest thing about the install is pulling out the old shaft located up under the wheel well up front, or in the center of the Ranger actually, and then of course putting a new one in. But once you get past that, it does get easier. Next is probably just the control box that was mounted up behind this, on the column back here behind the steering wheel, which, knowing what I know now, wouldn't have been as difficult. Probably just need a little more instructions on the pamphlet that came with it. Something simply saying the controller will set on top, the bracket bar will come from underneath, and do not use the pre-existing holes already in the frame in there. Line it up on the big gaps. That's where your screws will go in those big gaps, and it'll leave a bar in between those that'll compress against. Looking back at the instructions, they did take pictures of all that, trying to express that. If they just probably explained it a little bit better, it would have went a little bit easier. All in all, it took me quite a while. Mostly, well, it all took a while, but it added quite a bit of time with the steering wheel problem I had. So I had probably well over 12 hours in this project, just trying to figure out why my steering wheel wouldn't go on, and then make the adjustments I had to get it in there. If I had to do it again, it would probably take me, I'm just kidding, I'd never do it again. Anyway,